There's a hidden aspect of your mind that's shaping your life in ways you've never been told about. Not your childhood, not your habits, not your choices. Something deeper, something that was carved into you millions of years before you were born. And the strangest part, it's the same thing that made us the most successful species on Earth. But success, it turns out, has a very dark price. Think about the last time you felt genuinely happy. Not content, not distracted. Actually, deeply happy. For most people, that moment is hard to find, and that's not an accident. That's evolution working exactly as intended, and almost nobody talks about this part. We tend to think of evolution as progress, as improvement, a slow, elegant climb from simple to complex, from weak to strong, from primitive to enlightened. But evolution doesn't care about your happiness. It doesn't care about your mental health, your relationships, or whether you wake up at 3 in the morning feeling like something is quietly wrong with your life. Evolution only has one goal: survival. And in chasing that goal, it built something inside you that is, by almost every modern measure, a quiet kind of horror. Let's go back, way back. Picture the African savanna, roughly 200,000 years ago. Small bands of humans, maybe 30 or 40 people, living under a sky so full of stars it barely seems real. Every day is a calculation. Every sound in the grass might be a predator. Every stranger from another tribe might be a threat. Every decision about who to trust, who to love, who to follow, those decisions carry real consequences. Make the wrong call and you don't survive to make another one. In that world, your brain was perfect. Absolutely perfect. It was wired to notice threat before opportunity. Because missing a threat kills you, but missing an opportunity just means you're a little hungry. It was wired to crave status, because in a small tribe, low status means less food, less protection, less chance of passing on your genes. It was wired to fear rejection more than almost anything, because being cast out of the group wasn't embarrassing. It was a death sentence. And here's where it starts to get unsettling. That brain, that perfectly calibrated survival machine from 200,000 years ago, you're still running it. Right now, in a world it was never designed for. The same circuitry that kept your ancestors alive on the savannah is now responsible for your social anxiety, your obsessive self-comparison, your inability to enjoy success, your tendency to catastrophize small problems, your hunger for approval from people you don't even respect. You're not broken. You're just running ancient software on a radically different world. But this is where it gets disturbing. Evolution didn't just give us fear and anxiety and tribalism. It gave us something far more insidious. It gave us the capacity to be cruel, not in spite of our intelligence, but because of it. Humans are the only species that kills for ideology, the only species that tortures not for food, not for survival, but sometimes just for dominance. For the feeling of power, for the satisfaction of winning. Studies in evolutionary psychology have found that certain forms of cruelty, the desire to humiliate, to exclude, to establish hierarchy through pain, these aren't aberrations. They're deeply embedded behavioral patterns that once served a purpose. Dominance hierarchies kept groups organized. Fear kept rivals in check. Cruelty, in controlled doses, was a survival tool. The terrifying implication is this: the monsters in history weren't anomalies. They were expressions of something latent in all of us. Something that most people never act on, but that is still sitting there, quiet and waiting, in the architecture of the human mind. Take a breath with that, because it gets stranger. Here's something evolution gave us that we almost never acknowledge: the capacity for self-deception so powerful it borders on supernatural. Your brain doesn't show you reality. It shows you a story about reality, carefully edited, emotionally filtered, and subtly designed to make you feel like the hero. This is called the self-serving bias, and it's not a quirk, it's a feature. Groups that believed in their own righteousness fought harder. Individuals who believed they were special took more risks, risks that sometimes paid off. Self-deception made you more confident, more aggressive, more persuasive. It was adaptive. And so evolution selected for it, generation after generation, until the human brain became, in a very real sense, a machine that lies to itself to function. Think about every conflict you've ever had. Every argument, every broken friendship, every war, every atrocity committed by ordinary people who were completely convinced they were right. Self-deception isn't just a personal problem. It's the engine of human history. And then something even stranger happened. We became conscious of it. Somewhere along the evolutionary timeline, humans developed the ability to observe themselves thinking, to step outside their own minds and watch the machinery working. To ask, wait, why do I feel this way? Why am I acting like this? Is this real, or is this just fear dressed up as certainty? No other animal does this. At least, not like we do. And that awareness, that strange, painful gift of self-consciousness, created something unprecedented. It created existential suffering, the ability to imagine a better version of yourself, and then feel the crushing weight of the gap between who you are and who you could be. The ability to understand your own mortality, to lie awake at night knowing you will die, and that everyone you love will die, and that this knowledge will not make the morning coffee taste any different. Evolution built you to survive. It did not build you to find meaning. And in a world where survival is no longer the primary challenge, billions of people are left with a brain optimized for a problem that no longer exists, in a world full of new problems it was never designed to solve. This is what the dark side of human evolution really looks like. Not monsters, not violence, something quieter. A species that outran its own nature, that became so powerful so rapidly, that the ancient machinery inside it is now misfiring in slow motion. Anxiety disorders, depression, addiction, loneliness in crowds. The inability to feel satisfied with anything because the brain was built to always want more, because wanting more kept your ancestors alive. The hedonic treadmill, the phenomenon where no achievement ever feels like enough, where happiness always recedes just ahead of you like a horizon. It's not a spiritual failure. It's evolution. You were designed to never stop wanting, because the moment your ancestors stopped wanting, they stopped competing. And they lost. You're not chasing happiness. You're running a program that was never supposed to find it. And now consider this, the final layer that almost nobody is willing to look at directly. We've spent thousands of years building civilizations, philosophies, religions, therapies, all trying to solve a problem that evolution created. Every meditation practice, every moral framework, every romantic relationship, every work of art, every act of kindness, in some sense, is a rebellion against what we were built to be, an attempt to rise above the machinery, to choose something that evolution never asked for: meaning over survival, connection over competition, compassion over dominance. And sometimes, it works. Sometimes, against all odds, people become genuinely good, genuinely kind, genuinely present. And when that happens, it's not natural. It's not instinct. It's something harder, something chosen. Which means the most remarkable thing about humans isn't our intelligence. It isn't our technology. It isn't our art or our science or our languages. It's that we know what we are. We see the machinery. We feel the pull of every dark instinct embedded in us by millions of years of brutal selection. And some of us sometimes choose differently anyway. But here's the question you're going to carry with you. If everything good about humanity is a rebellion against our nature, and everything dark about humanity is just nature working as intended, then what exactly are we? Are we the darkness that occasionally chooses light? Or are we the light, forever struggling against the dark it came from? Evolution doesn't answer that. Science doesn't answer that. And maybe that's the point. Maybe the question itself is the most human thing about us. Not knowing, but asking anyway.